Greetings, cinephiles. Are you looking for a movie analysis podcast that stands above the rest? Then look no further than Collateral Cinema, the only movie podcast that matters.
We analyze good movies, we analyze bad movies, and yes, we also analyze the in-betweens of the world of cinema.
So if you like what you hear, find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
And listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcasts.
And yes, my friends, we are 420 friendly. So when you listen to us, smoke it if you've got it. And now, here's a new episode of Collateral Gaming. The show starts right now.
I'm Ashley Chancellor, and this is Collateral Gaming. Welcome to Collateral Gaming, the only video game podcast that matters, where we focus on good games, bad games, and everything else in between in the world of gaming. We're podcasting straight from Houston, Texas, or I should say I'm podcasting straight from Houston, Texas. This is another solo episode. And yes, my friends, we are a 420 friendly podcast. So whatever you have, be it dabs, blunts, bongs, or joints, smoke it if you've got it. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm doing another episode by myself. Hey, you know what? At this point, I've come to think of it as like, it's just kind of one of those things maybe to do once a season or so. I don't know. We'll see. But we are talking about a treat, and apologies on the lateness of this episode. We're coming in well after over a month since the game's been released. But it's okay. We're here. We're talking about it. Paper Mario, The Thousand-Year Door, the Switch remake. I've been heavily anticipating this remake ever since it was announced. For quite some time, I've been wanting to play The Thousand-Year Door again on modern hardware. I tried emulating it maybe a couple of years ago or so, and that was working out pretty well. But I remember falling off, and when you've got something that's an official project on modern hardware, to me that just that shows that the company's aware of what gamers like, and you get some things that you may not get out of being able to emulate the original game, and that's really nice, and that's really why I'm so happy to see a remake of this game in 2024, because it is a classic from my childhood, widely regarded as the greatest of Mario RPGs. Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door is just it is a golden tier game, and it deserves its spot. Honestly, I mean, if you ask me, my personal favorite is probably Bowser's Inside Story from the Mario and Luigi series, but Paper Mario: Thousand-Year Door comes damn close. It is a damn near perfect game. I remember playing this game on the Nintendo GameCube and falling in love with it. I'm ashamed to admit that I never actually completed it. I got all the way to the moon level, so I had very nearly completed the game. I think I was not able to beat the boss of that area, which I did this time. I have thankfully actually completed the game. That's why this episode took so long to record. I wanted to be able to actually finish the game, and I knew I wasn't going to come back to it after we had done the episode. So that is part of the reason why this episode took so long to record. And again, apologies on that. But we're here. Again, like I said, Thousand-Year Door is just jam-packed with memories for me. I mean, everything from working your way up through the Glitz Pit to the shocking twist at the end of Chapter 4, to getting shipwrecked at Keelhaul Key, to the mystery, somewhat like a murder mystery, on the XS Express. I mean, this game is just full of memorable moments. The combat. We have this rich turn-based RPG combat that pretty much mirrors what we saw in Paper Mario 1, which I haven't played a whole lot of. But my understanding is this is Paper Mario 1, but better. They've added even more improvements. And the story, the story is just so good. And Paper Mario, in many ways, is the true successor to Super Mario RPG, more so than the Mario and Luigi series, I would argue. Paper Mario is kind of the spiritual successor to that, or at least the first couple games are. But Thousand Year Door is honestly seen as just the high point of the franchise, and any Mario RPGs really. It is absolutely the pinnacle, the peak of what Nintendo has to offer, or I should say Intelligent Systems, developers of the Fire Emblem franchise. I'm happy to say that the Switch remake still includes the reference to Fire Emblem, the Blazing Blade on GBA, or just known as Fire Emblem in the West. I really thought that they would actually swap that reference out for a more modern reference, given that this is a remake and a full-on from the ground up remake and not just a remaster. But the original reference is still in, and you know what? I'm happy about it. This game is very much a nostalgia trip. This whole experience has been, and being able to play on the Nintendo Switch. So they've also kept in the Mailbox SP exactly as is. They didn't swap that out. If anything, actually, what they've done is they've actually made improvements to the dialogue to match the original version. So whereas the localization had omitted some things or changed some things, this is much more faithful to the original script in the original Japanese, including the notorious inclusion of Vivian as a trans character, which, I mean, regardless of where you stand on that issue, I mean, I don't think that's a political move. I don't think it's woke to have the story actually follow the original Japanese and other language versions of the game. And I remember this isn't something Nintendo just popped out now and was like, yeah, or Intelligent Systems, either one, and they're just like, yeah, we'll just say, it's close. No, that was a fact I remember hearing years ago. I knew that was a thing, and it's hinted at, I think, in the localized script. They straight up omit a conversation where Vivian straight up mentions that fact, and we can make arguments about the Japanese language and whether this means a trans woman or whether that means something else. But as I understand it, the original script and this version script makes it very clear that Vivian is not assigned female at birth and identifies as a woman, so trans woman. I think there was someone actually online who tried to argue, like, no, she's not a trans woman, she just identifies as a woman. What? That's what that literally means. That's the textbook definition. So I'm, for one, and am happy that we have the uncensored version of this dialogue, that we have a more accurate representation of the original developer's intentions behind this character. And Vivian is a great character, both in combat and in the story. She's one of my favorites. So I'm not going to say too much more about it, but I felt like we needed to touch on that. That yes, this is in the original language version. I mean, we can split hairs over what you want to call that, or how Japanese culture treats trans people. But at the end of the day, this isn't woke. This is just a more accurate translation of the script. I know that there were some other changes too, but not too much. Overall, actually, this is extremely faithful. This is pretty much the same game that I played on the Nintendo GameCube. That's what I can tell you about this remake. It doesn't have quite all the number of differences that we saw with the Super Mario RPG remake earlier last year, I think. But and instead, this is kind of just pretty much the exact same game, and that's fine. That's really what we needed, with some quality of life improvements. Obviously the script that's closer to the actual original language version, but also they've added a number of warp pipes, which makes some of that backtracking significantly more tolerable. In fact, the side quest system in this game it is so much better with at least the addition of the warp pipes. So that now you don't have to run all the way through areas just to go back and do what are essentially fetch quests. I do want to mention, if there's any low point, well, let's get it out of the way, of this game, and either the original or the remake, it's the side quests, the side jobs, or whatever you call them. God, I hate those. They're terrible. I don't like them. They're just fetch quests. They're awful. When you go to the little notice board in Rogueport, and then you basically are just told, go meet this character, get this thing. And you have to do a fucking runaround to find a certain character in the game story, and then they reintroduce that character in one of the side jobs. And I'm just like, why? And then you do the exact same thing. You have to follow him around through several parts of the game's map, which has been opened up completely at this point, just to be told to go somewhere else, and then you have to go like jump on him to wake him up several times. Past the point that like normally, after like 3 goes, usually in a game, you're like, okay, this is not working. I need to do something else. No, you have to keep chugging at it. It's stupid. If there's any complaint I had about the original games, the backtracking, that's made significantly more tolerable. The side jobs, odd jobs, whatever you call them, they're still not fun. I actually found myself just frustrated, just like yelling, like, why am I running back and forth doing this? This is not fun. So... but everything else is. I mean, God, the combat. I know there was another notorious change that was made, which was the frame rate. Supposedly, this game runs at 30 frames per second as opposed to the 60 frames per second on the original GameCube version. Now, I was a kid when I played the original GameCube version, and the last time I played it was years ago on an emulator, which it probably wasn't running up to speed. So it's hard for me to make a comparison here. I'm going to tell you I didn't really notice. The game has been dropped due to 30 frames per second, but it's consistent. There were no frame rate drops that I ever experienced. And the game's timing mechanics have been reworked for that 30 frames. So it's totally good. It works. No differences. I did find myself having an easier time playing this in handheld mode than on the TV. Maybe that's just me and my poor eyesight that's not being adjusted to the level that it should be, but and also my tiny ass TV. So I found that the timing was a lot easier in the handheld version. I feel like I was just wasting FP every time I used multi-bonk or power bounce. So there we go. By the way, why is Goombella's multi-bonk ability called that when Mario's multi-bounce ability is the one that hits multiple enemies, but hers is the one that hits one enemy multiple times, whereas Mario's version of that move is called power bounce? That bothers me. I wish they would have changed that for this version, because when you see multi-bonk, you think it's going to be an attack that's going to attack multiple enemies, but it's not. Because Mario's multi-bounce does. So just at least be consistent with the naming, guys. Come on. I'm splitting hairs here. But, the frame rate is not noticeable to me anyways. And there were no drops. The performance is very, very good. Like I said, it was like playing the original game for me. They've basically left the combat system mostly untouched. It works exactly the way that you remember it. The inputs are the same. The UI has just been updated, to reflect the Switch controls, and that's about it. I want to say that with the guard and super guard mechanics, they might have changed like how much damage those do at certain points of the game. I'm not too sure, but I remember later on in the game, you're still taking heavy damage if you're just trying to guard against attacks. So unlike the Mario and Luigi games, the Paper Mario games don't allow you to completely dodge attacks. It is a standard turn-based RPG in the sense that, you are going to have to take some damage, but you can mitigate that by guarding. And I think if you super guard, it completely does mitigate it. So technically there is a way to avoid it, but you're just not likely to have the timing to pull it off. The cool thing about the super guard is that it also deals damage, just one hit point of damage back to the enemy. So some enemies that may actually be the only way that you can damage them. There is an optional boss fight, a secret boss fight that's been added to the game in the post game that actually relies on the super guard mechanics. I haven't beaten it. I'm proud to admit that I played through this game getting, I think, only like one game over screen through the completion of the main story ever. I don't know if maybe I just got used to it, or I've gotten much better at turn-based RPGs in general since I was a kid, but I had a much easier time. Honestly, the game felt kind of easy to me. It felt like it was going by too quickly. It just felt like it was much longer as a kid and much more difficult. that boss fight kicked my ass. The secret boss fight that they added, I still haven't beat him. I've died twice now, so more times than I did in the actual main story, mind you. The final boss fight was pretty cool too. I'd never actually got to complete the final boss fight. Now, given that this is a game launch episode, we're going to keep it spoiler free. Yes, even though the game has been out for a month, and even though the original game is like 20 years old at this point, we're still going to keep it spoiler free because my intention for you and for everybody listening is to play this game and experience it firsthand, because it really is an incredible story. You've got unforgettable characters who are your partners in this game, like Goombella, who is a Goomba who's your she uses her tattle ability to give you enemy stats and how to defeat them. So she serves a purpose to the Goomba. She serves the same purpose as the Goomba partner in Paper Mario 1, for anybody that played that. And then you have Koops, the Koopa. He can use his shell to attack enemies. You have Flurry, seems to be a completely original character whose race has not been seen before. She can blow gusts of wind and slam on enemies. I found that out of all of the partners, besides the optional partner that you can unlock, I used her the least. The only character I used less than her was the optional one. There is one optional boss character you can unlock through the side jobs. So, well, I don't recommend doing them because the rewards are not great and they're just not fun. I do recommend doing the one job that unlocks the extra character. That one, that. Just for completion's sake, so you can have the character, but she's really not that great. But maybe she's just underutilized. I don't know. So there is also a Yoshi that you can ride around, who you can have in any color. There is Vivian, the aforementioned character. She's one of the Shadow Sisters, and she can hide Mario underneath the ground, and she fights with fire, which is cool. And then you have Admiral Bobbery, the Bomb-Omb. He you just get to blow up shit. He's a lot of fun. So no shortage of a colorful cast of characters, and they really do complement Mario throughout the adventure. You'll also get to play as both Peach and Bowser in between levels. Those are a lot of fun. The Peach levels, in retrospect now, were kind of boring, but there's actually a pretty cool story development between her and the Tech, or TEC, the computer that falls in love with Princess Peach, but is actually, the bad guy's the X-Nauts supercomputer. And then, you also get to play as Bowser. I love the version of Bowser that we see in the Mario RPGs. That's just this more lighthearted character that often even teams up with Mario. He doesn't in this one, but you get to play as him in actual side-scroller platform levels reminiscent of, the original Super Mario Brothers games, which is a lot of fun. And he eats meat, which powers him up. He'll get bigger and stronger, and then he'll get bigger and invincible. He'll become giant and invincible and just be able to just blow through the screen. These segments aren't very hard. You have unlimited lives, but it's a nice break in pace. Once you go through like this full level and the associated dungeon, defeat the boss, then you get to have these little sections of the game, that are reprieves where you get to play as Peach and Bowser. And some of the Bowser sections are just talking. You don't really do anything, but it's kind of nice to check in on them once in a while. And that still remains here in this version of the game.
Rogue Port, where a rogue can be a rogue. Not a hero in sight! What? Huh? Mario's here? Let's scram to Petalburg, where Hooktail will tear him to shreds. Darn. That was pretty impressive. Aha! His intellect is no match for the trivia-loving Thwomp, though. Oh, man. Brains and brawn? What a combo. But I'll bet he can't cross this treacherous chasm, and he just folded into a paper plane. Oh, what can't this guy do? Can you pin him? Rock Hawk, get him! Oh, come on! Any shadows? Oh! Well, that's also a no. Smorg? Anyone? No! He's even got friends with him? How do we get this guy on our side? Wait, what am I saying? At this rate, I might just start rooting for the hero. Mario's making his way across the world, chasing down baddies and saving the day in the Paper Mario, the 1,000-Year Door game. Available May 23rd on the Nintendo Switch system.
We've got the X-Nauts, of course, the bad guys who are trying to open the 1,000-Year Door, which is what you're trying to do as well, at least at the beginning. Seek out the 7 crystal stars. Where have I heard that before? That's never been in a Mario RPG, has it? To open the 1,000-Year Door. On the surface, it's a very simple story, right? It's just seek out the crystal stars again, right? Seek out the 7 stars. Okay, we get it. But the story is surprisingly complex. You know, like I said, you even have cool little twists that happen throughout, and interesting levels where they kind of just change the pacing of everything a little bit. The boss battles are a lot of fun. Most of the bosses kind of have like, you know, sort of a gimmick to the fight, like Hooktail, the first boss that you'll fight at the end of chapter 1, first main boss, I should say. She actually, and then they come out the gate referring to the character as female this time. Something I think that wasn't revealed until the end of the game in the original localized version. Whenever you fight another dragon. But when you fight Hooktail, there's a particular item that will change the effects of your attacks, and so that actually will make that battle much easier. So the remake also includes a Battle Master Toad that you can talk to that can give you tips about the game. I don't really know that I used him a whole lot because, you know, I've already played the game before. But, you know, I think there's probably some interesting tips in there if you decide to go through them. Also, there's a new item limit of 15 items instead of 10. Thank God. I was already hitting that 15 limit as it is. Like, thinking about having to hold 10 items, it is hard to imagine. And obviously, it's been years since I played this game, but I do remember having issues with item management and just, like, constantly having to toss items away. I have to do that a lot less now, which is nice. If there were still a way to like upgrade how many items you can hold, that would be cool. And because also there's also a limit to the number of items you can store. So like you think like, okay, I need to, you know, I can't hold so many items, so at least I can store them whenever I go to a shop. But then, you know, the shops have limits. But I think what you're supposed to be doing, and I didn't really take advantage of it this time, is you're supposed to be cooking your items and turning them into other items, so they're not just sitting there taking space. Because there's a certain point where like lower level mushrooms, you know, you're just not going to use them anymore. You're going to be storing them away, and eventually you can cook 2 items together, so you can actually reduce the number of items in your inventory or storage. So I feel like if I'd taken better advantage of that, that probably would have been better. The problem is that a lot of the times you don't really know what to cook. And yeah, you'll get like emails periodically or like side quests that might give you suggestions, or recipes that might give you recipes, but I often found then that I just didn't have the ingredients. But it's a cool little mechanic, and I'm glad that they increased again the item inventory. Oh, another thing, the soundtrack. Oh my God, the soundtrack. It has been rearranged, and it is just gorgeous. There's a badge you can equip that will allow you to play the original tunes with 0 BP. But, you know, I don't see any reason why you'd want to do that, except, I guess, just for nostalgia's sake. You know, you can turn it on for a little bit, be like, okay, I remember that, because the reorchestrated versions are just better in every way. I mean, they took the Rogueport theme, and they actually changed it depending on which area of Rogueport you're in. So that was really cool, or like whether you're like inside shops and whatnot. They've just completely reorchestrated it. The soundtrack is just banging. It is so fucking good. It's the tunes you remember, but just, you know, recorded live, and the difference is just, And it's just so epic sounding. They've really done a fantastic job with the soundtrack. Obviously, the game looks fantastic. It's much more vibrant and smooth, despite the frame rate difference. They've also added this may seem very small and like it doesn't make a big difference. There's a new partner wheel that's accessible now, so you no longer have to pause the game to swap out partners like in the original, but you just pull up a handy little wheel by holding the L button, and you can instantly swap between partners, and oh my god, that is so much better. The amount of time that you save, it just cannot be understated. A very small difference that just completely changes the flow of the game and makes it so much better. A number of other quality of life updates. I mean, you have a hint button now that you can use where your partners can hint to you about what to do next. So, if you get to a point in the game where you're really not sure where to go, or you've forgotten, or you are having difficulty with a puzzle, rather than having to go online and look it up. Because let's face it, we get to that point in games where we do that. There's a handy little hint that doesn't give away too much. And if there's a particular character's ability who's useful for a puzzle, then you'll actually get a hint from that character. So it does help. They've also added an art and sound gallery, which you unlock by completing chapters and collecting all of the collectibles. So that's nice. They've also another help with the pacing of the game and reducing the amount of backtracking is that if you die during a fight, you could now restart from that fight. So you do still need to save properly throughout the game so that when you reload the game, your content is saved. But while you're playing, there are checkpoints before boss battles or any battles, I believe. Like I said, I think I died a total of one time during my completion of the Bait story, but that has got to be very helpful for new players or people that had a more difficult time with this game, because it's just going to save you so much time. You're not going to need to throw your controller at the wall because you have to repeat large sections of content. It's all there, so that's a good thing. There's hard, and then there's just like, okay, why are you making me have to cross over an entire section of content without saving? Like you don't want to have to do the same thing over and over and over again. That's not fun, right? There's a point where it's no longer just challenging, and it's just not fun anymore. And so what this version of the game has managed to do is mitigate the less fun aspects. Having to open up the window in order to change partners, and have to actually pause the action, having to walk all the way through maps. They've even made some improvements in some of the chapters to just make progression easier when you do have to walk across the map. Just adding a spring there or a pipe here that can take you. So it does cut back on a lot of the backtracking. Some of that is still here in the game, though, and even with the warp pipes added, as mentioned earlier, that just it does still get annoying during, especially the odd jobs. When the game story pauses me once to go, find this character, I don't mind too much. When you go make me do that entire thing again in a side quest, that's when it grinds my gears. But yeah, I don't think that there's a whole lot more to say about this without getting into spoilers, but Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door is a phenomenal game, and if the frame rate is really important to you, this may not be the definitive version, but other than that, it really is. In every other way, this game is an improvement. I can't imagine going back and playing the game. Even at 60 FPS, I still would find it difficult to play the game, having to deal with some of the other, just outdated game design, right? Or the limitations of the hardware. So this definitely is, and in my opinion, the best way to play the game. The frame rate differences was not noticeable to me. The game has been reworked around that. And other than that, in every other way, it is definitely an improvement over the original. It's fantastic to be able to play it on modern hardware. I'm glad that Nintendo and Intelligent Systems are aware of what their fans want, and this gives me hope that we'll get a new turn-based, traditional Paper Mario RPG. Origami King was pretty good. It was a step in the right direction. Like, at least it was turn-based. And, well, I say that, but Super Paper Mario was a lot of fun. But that's just kind of like a side thing, right? And at least like the combat system was actually fun. I've never played Sticker Star or Color Splash, but I've heard that those weren't very good. So I liked Origami King for what it's worth, but I would love to see like a true return to form. And I hope that's what we're getting to. I know that we did get a new Mario and Luigi game announced, and I am so fucking excited for that because Alpha Dream was actually bankrupted. So all hopes of seeing a new Mario and Luigi game, man, we're just like, I love the idea. I fantasized about it, but I knew that it wasn't a real possibility. I'm happy to say now that it is. We're getting a new Mario and Luigi RPG game, so fuck yeah. Hopefully we'll get a new Paper Mario RPG that, again, is a return to form. Just literally do Paper Mario 3 that we never got. Just do a sequel to Thousand Year Door that with modern game design in mind. That's what I'm hungry for now. Because I will say that the game does show its colors a little bit. This may be, a reworked version of the game remake, but it is very much the same game with a fresh coat of paint. And so, it does hold up phenomenally well, don't get me wrong. But you can tell it's a 20-year-old game sometimes. In many ways, it was sort of ahead of its time, especially for a game on a Nintendo console. But in some ways, you could tell where it was held back by a more limited game design. And I would love to see what a traditional turn-based, RPG set in the Mario universe would look like today. That would be phenomenal. I'd love to see it. So, again, nothing but praise for both the original game and this remake. Good job to the folks over at Intelligent Systems for developing an incredible game and remaking it and putting it on modern hardware for fans to enjoy today. So if you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or feedback on your platform of choice. You can help us climb the ranks over at Good Pods. And also check out our Patreon, where we have exclusive Let's Play video game commentaries. Check out Collateral Let's Play as well over on the Collateral Cinema YouTube channel. Bo's been uploading those. And I believe just got back into doing it again regularly. Hopefully very soon we'll get those uploaded over on the Collateral Gaming channel as well, so we can enjoy those and also contribute to the Let's Play content, free Let's Play content, as well as get back on the commentaries and actually record a new one, which would be nice. Stay tuned for our upcoming episode on the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles Part 2. If you haven't listened to Part 1, you can check that out now wherever you get your podcasts. We covered the first game in Part 1, and we'll be covering the Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve in the Part 2 episode. We're also going to be talking about, probably before Great Ace Attorney 2, let's be honest. Bo's still playing that game. Bo, hurry up and finish. If you're listening, go fucking hurry up and finish Great Ace Attorney 2, because I need to record that episode with you so we can move on and close out the season. But probably before that, we'll be talking about the Elden Ring DLC Shadow of the Erdtree. So my co-host Zach is going to be on that, of course, as well as my good friend Michael Toscano will be joining us for that as a special guest. So that'll be really cool to record that with the guys. I'm happy to have a guest on the episode as well as one of my co-hosts, because I will tell you, as of right now, I have not touched the DLC. I'm still making it through the base game and trying to complete the requirements. My buddy Michael was very gracious enough to offer me some runes so that I can kind of level my character up. But I'm still kind of trying to catch up my character's other, stats, and then, the flasks and weapons up to my current character level so that I can complete the bosses that are necessary and at least try out the DLC and flounder around a little bit and get my ass kicked. So I'll tell you what, I've gotten a lot further than Elden Ring than I ever did before, and that's been great. I actually beat Margit on the second try, and that's where I fell off the first time. I never beat Margit before. Died over and over and over again. I'm happy to report that I beat not only Margit, but I also beat Godric with not too much difficulty. actually have made my way to the Atlas Plateau. That's as far as I've gotten. Right now, I'm kind of grinding up. I don't have to grind character level anymore, but because my character's at 150. But I am grinding up other aspects of my character to match my character level up so I can fight Radon and then Moog and then get to the DLC. So stay tuned for that very, very soon. Probably record that this week and have that out either this week or next. And then, of course, Great Ace Attorney 2. And then we'll be moving on to Nightfire as soon as we're done with that. And then closing out the season with Dune. So hopefully we don't end up having to cut anything. That's going to depend on how quickly we can get the rest of these episodes out. So, yeah, it's been a great season so far. We're already in the planning stages for Season 7 of Collateral Gaming, and it is going to be a whopper. Let me tell you. So excited to get into it with you guys. But you can find us on social media. We are on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. I'll do my best to be more up to date with most of the social media. I've been posting to our Collateral Media Podcasts group and the respective podcast pages on Facebook, you know, with memes and news and whatnot. But I could stand to be more active on Twitter, and I really only update Instagram when we got a new episode out. We've been kind of slow on the content lately, I feel. So, but we'll get back on the horse with that. Thank you to all of our listeners for sticking with us and supporting us all of this time. I guess with all of that being said, I've been Ashley Chancellor, and this is Collateral Gaming. We are out.
Collateral Gaming is a Collateral Media podcast. All music and game clips are owned by their respective creators and are used for educational purposes only. Please don't sue us. We're poor.